Greetings, everybody. This is Leviathan here, and today I'm continuing my How Does X Work for Diablo Immortal series. And again, we're in the technical alpha, so any of this could be subject to change by the time the game comes out. But I think a lot of these will be more of like the base of the game or sort of the general mechanics of the game, so it should apply across the board, maybe with small tinkering to certain things if they decide some stuff needs to change. In any case, today we're going to be talking about stats and gear and sort of the interaction between the two, but also just what you need to know to make your character the most powerful. This is a brand new Diablo game, and even though it borrows some things from previous games, it puts its own spin on a lot of stuff. So you're going to want to know exactly how to essentially make the best character, utilize all the different things to your advantage, get the mechanics. So we have two resources. We're going to be using the game itself in order to show you sort of what gear looks like and how my character has progressed and some of the things that are important, and also the website for Diablo Immortal, which has some great articles, and one of them is this itemization one. We'll actually start here so you can kind of get an idea about how they describe stats and sort of how it translates in the game. So as you can see on screen right now, they talk about base stats, and those are listed next to the item's icon. And so every item sort of comes with its base. And as you imagine, weapons, their base are going to be damage. They'll have a damage number. For like a chest, for instance, it's going to be a life base, and that'll have sort of a big number there, especially as you get to more progressed endgame items. And those are the ones that will be affected by legendary gems when you're sort of multiplying or getting a better percent of the base of the item. And we'll talk about legendary gems in a separate video because they're all pretty involved on their own, but that's just something to be aware of. And you'll see an example of that when I go back to the actual items in game. But they mention here some of the things that can be listed. The only ones I saw in the alpha were life and damage, but they mentioned that there's also potential armor, offense rating, defense rating, potency, and resistance for base stats on items. So life, as you might imagine, gives you increase to your hit points, damage, increase to damage as dealt by weapons, increased by primary attribute. Primary attributes in this game for the alpha, we had the barbarian, the monk, the demon hunter, and the wizard. Wizard was the only class that has its primary attribute being intelligence, and all the rest are strength. So there's actually no dexterity in this game, and that kind of confused some people coming from Diablo 3 and such, where they're like, wait, shouldn't the monk have dexterity? Shouldn't the demon hunter have dexterity? But it's all strength for their main stat there. Armor is going to provide you damage reduction against non-magical attacks, so like a physical damage reduction. Armor penetration is a stat you can get, and it reduces the effectiveness of enemies' armor against your attacks. And then there's this intricate system of offense rating and defense rating. It's almost like a secondary system to just like damage and damage reduction. Offense rating will increase your damage by a percentage that's based on your opponent's defense rating. And the defense rating that you have reduces damage taken by a percentage based on your opponent's offense rating. These are hidden values. I'm sure as time goes on, we'll be able to figure out which enemies have what offense rating and defense rating at whatever tier of challenge rift and things like that that have progressively scaling difficulty. But the thing you basically need to know is that as you go into higher difficulty, enemies will have better offense rating and better defense rating, which means that you need to keep up with your own offense rating and defense rating so that you have sort of the edge over them in the system, and therefore your percentage, both output and damage, and your percentage damage taken will be higher and lower, respectively. Potency has to do with debuffs and putting them on enemies. So that's your ability to make your debuffs last longer. So for a dot class, anything that's going to be doing damage over time, you're going to want to care about your potency. And then for resistance, that's basically making sure that debuffs against you have shorter duration. So that applies to a lot of things in this game too. Jailer, fear, poison, being burned by fire damage, things like that. You can shorten all of those durations if you have a good resistance number. And again, as those stats are comparative as well. So as you go up into higher difficulty, higher challenge rifts, if the opponent has higher potency, then their burns and duration of things are going to last for a very long time. You can see in some of my challenge rift videos, I'll be jailed for 5 seconds sometimes because I don't really prioritize potency and resistance, which you get from willpower, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And so I just was hoping to not get jailed and such, but if you do, like, it just takes a long time. And jailer is actually just a side here. It's an affix you can dodge in this game. It actually comes out as a projectile, and if you dodge it, then you don't get jailed. Just something to keep in mind. but we'll talk about that maybe in another video on battle mechanics. So then if we continue forward, we talked about attributes, like strength and intelligence. Those are sort of the main stat attributes in this game, but there's also fortitude, vitality, and power. If we skip forward, because we already talked about who gets what from strength and intelligence, a thing to note is that all attributes will increase offense and defense ratings. So you actually care essentially about every attribute that's going to be on your gear. Of course, certain ones will be more beneficial to you than others, just to the way you're trying to build your setup. But in general, every main stat is really good or every attribute is really good because it's going to give you both offense and defense rating, which again will carry you into higher difficulty and make your character effective against the enemies as their offense and defense rating creeps up. The non-primary attributes give you additional defensive benefits, so for fortitude, and also offensive benefits in the case of fortitude. So fortitude gives you both armor and armor penetration in addition to the offense and defense rating that you get from every attribute. Vitality will increase your life plus offense and defense rating, and then willpower, like I mentioned previously, increases your potency and resistance in addition to offense and defense rating. The hidden thing here, and this is where we'll actually go into game, hidden mechanic for fortitude is that armor penetration also gives you critical hit chance. So like fortitude is sleeper OP. You actually want quite a bit of it if you care about critting, and more often than not you're going to care about critting. So there's not a lot of ways to gain critical hit chance in the game right now. A lot of the values in the game are very low that come on gear. Like I've seen 1.5% critical hit chance as in a fix. I think the highest I've seen is maybe 3%, but that might have been a critical hit damage affix. So yeah, they're pretty low, but you can get a ton from armor penetration. So that's definitely something to be quite aware of. And we're going to dive into all these like expanded stats when we come back into the game. We'll go back to the website real quick. And again, a link to this itemization blog that we're talking about will be in the video description. So feel free to click on that and you can go through this yourself. The thing about gear is that there are different slots. You can see here, like we were just looking at our in-game menu of this. So there's 13 slots in the game. There's 6 what they're calling primary gear slots. You can see here it's head, legs, torso, weapon, shoulder, and the offhand / secondary weapon. So every class has a dual wield or like there's no two-handed weapons in this game really. Or if there are, you would hold it in one hand and you still have an offhand. So it's kind of a different concept to wrap your head around too. But basically you always have 6 primary slots. And these are the ones that you go through the same gear progression of like normal, magic, rare, and legendary. Legendaries will be the best because they have really cool fixes on them that will vastly change the way that you do combat. They modify skills in very unique ways, kind of like the rune system from Diablo 3. So you'll want to be looking out for different legendaries and sort of synergizing them if you're trying to build your character a certain way, or there's particular skills that you really like. Those are going to be ones you look out for. And I'm going to actually do a video, since I played nothing but Demon Hunter in the alpha, I'm going to do a video discussing Demon Hunter skills and the legendaries that they have. That'll be coming up soon, so look out for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. So that's the main gear slots, primary gear slots. And then on this side here, we call these the secondary gear slots, and that's going to be your necklace or your amulet, your waist or your belt, 2 rings, ring 1 and ring 2, your feet or your boots, and your hands or gloves. Cover those slots. And the last one is charms, and that's the 13th slot. We're not going to cover that in this video. I'm going to do a whole separate video because charms are a very involved thing as well. So look out for that too. But it's just worth noting that charms exist. They help you rank up your skills even further than the natural rankings that they get as you level up your character. So that's the gamut on gear and some of the stats that you can look for. This talks about how you can go through all the different, from, like I mentioned, normal to legendary. There are no set items in the game. That's worth noting. A lot of people have asked, are there sets in this game? There are no set items. They want people to mix and match legendary powers. And higher quality items will just have better stats, which makes sense, right? You want to upgrade through the chain, get to legendary for the normal or for the primary slots, And actually something worth noting is that the secondary gear slots do not go to legendary. The highest you can get is rare. So you can get like a rare amulet, rare rings, etc. That's worth noting because legendaries are the only place that you can socket legendary gems. So at most you can have 6 legendary gems equipped because you get 1 socket for each slot. And then on this side, you do get sockets, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But they're for normal gems, and normal gems are completely different from legendary gems. Legendary gems are very similar to what you would expect from Diablo 3. Regular gems are somewhat similar to what you would expect from Diablo 3, but they do different things in this game. So that is worth noting. And another thing, item rankings. So the main thing that you do in this game is rank up your items. Ranking up your items basically gives them more attributes, and like we mentioned, attributes are huge because you get all the benefits of them, plus the offense and defense rating. And I think one thing that I saw a lot of people underestimating or not really paying attention to in Diablo Immortal is that ranking up your gear actually matters a lot. Some people tended to tunnel on Paragon and trying to get their Paragon levels high, and yes, the Paragon system is important. We have done videos on the Paragon trees. Definitely check those out on the channel as well. Put some links to those in the video description. It is another part of how to make your character powerful, but it's not the only part, and it's certainly not the most important part. So I think that yes, you want to concentrate on good experience gain and getting Paragon levels, but do not neglect farming materials to upgrade your gear because you can get a lot of headway from upgrading your gear. Mentioned here is that the rare items, the secondary armor items, only go to rank 5 max, as you can see here. And then legendaries go to rank 20 max. And that's actually very important because you can get additional bonus attributes, like you can see in this screenshot here. So as you get up to rank 6, 11, and 16, you unlock another bonus attribute. And there are these things called family bonuses. This is a great time for us to now go back into the game and illustrate some of these things for you, because I was able to get some of these items to these rankings in the short time that we had in the alpha. So again, we're talking now item rankings. You can see here, and it's kind of important to note that you don't really rank up your items as much as you rank up the slots for the items. SVR has kind of mentioned this, and it actually brings it home for a lot of players, because you can always transfer the rank of an item. So as you rank up, like, you know, say your helm, you can, if you get a new helm, you don't lose all of the materials that you spent upgrading and ranking up the helm. You just kind of transfer it to the next item that's going to go into that slot. So for all intents and purposes, you're ranking up the helm slot, and then you just transfer as you get better upgrades for that slot, or you want to try a different legendary or something, you just transfer the rank over. So here on my helm, we'll use this as an example. I got rank 16 on it out of 20. And as you can see, that means that I was able to get these bonus attributes. I aligned them into a family. And so the way that the families work, it's actually worth us going to the blacksmith to show this, because you can look at Reforges a little better there. If I come here,
oh, welcome back.
We go to Reforge, and I go to the helm again. You can see view family bonuses. So there's 6 families in the game right now. There's the Wildfire Set, gives you a 1% chance on kill when you kill an enemy to summon a fireball spitting Hydra. This actually to me has been the best performing one in the alpha, and it's also the most noticeable because a Hydra pops up and you can actually see, oh, it happened. There's the Tremor Set, which when you use your primary attacks, you have a 1% chance to inflict extra damage and stun enemies for 1.5 seconds. I literally never saw this go off, so I don't know if it was working or just hard to see. Jolt Set gives you a 1% chance when attacked to immobilize the attacker. I never use this because it just doesn't sound very good. More often than not in high challenge risks, where a lot of these things will matter, because in farming you kill so quickly, most of these don't matter. In high challenge risks, you don't really want to immobilize your attackers because you're always like kiting stuff, at least for the Demon Hunter gameplay. You're always kiting things, so you kind of always want them moving in a direction towards you so you can do damage and back away. For the Vengeance Set, your primary attacks have a 1% chance to increase all the damage you deal by 100% for 1 second. I also never saw this go off. It's kind of, I don't know if there's an indication for it. If there is, it needs to be way more visible. But as it stands, it's really hard to tell if you're ever benefiting from it. And it's just 1 second. So, you know, good luck knowing when that second pops up and popping off. The Barrier Set It's not bad. You can definitely, there's actually feedback to this one. So when you have a 1% chance when you get attacked to gain an absorption shield for 6 seconds. 6 seconds is a lot of time. And you'll see it, your health bar will actually get like a white portion to it that's showing that you have an absorb shield, and you just take no damage for that absorption. It's actually really, really strong. But in this game, at least as far as I was able to figure out, defense ultimately stopped mattering at higher tiers because the enemy's offense rating gets so much better than your defense rating that it's kind of not worth it to go for a lot of defense. You just want to essentially don't get hit, or at least make it so you're not getting one shot. You can like take 2 or 3 hits or so. But I imagine like the most well-geared characters will actually have good defense as well as good offense, and then maybe stuff like this comes back onto the menu. But at least for the short time that I had in trying to just get as far as I could, I purely prioritized offense, and I was able to get, you know, up to Challenge Rift 87 for the tier, my highest clear. And then the last set here is Ravager Set. You have a 1% chance when you kill an enemy to make the corpse explode, damaging all nearby enemies. This one I was really trying to see, because you would imagine if it pops off, it should be good. Like, corpse explosion in games is usually quite strong. I never really got a sense of when it went off or not. I've heard some people were able to also get some set family bonuses on their gear, and they said that this did work. I again would ask if it is a thing and it does work properly, that it should be a bit more noticeable, like a big pop or a big graphic to it, just so you know that when you're investing in these reforged bonuses, that you're actually getting what you are hoping to get out of them. And that's so basically one of the things to keep in mind of why ranking up your gear is so important, because you get these additional benefits essentially for free, plus you get the bonus attributes, and like we mentioned, attributes are huge for pumping up your offense and defense rating, and that's on top of everything that already comes on a legendary item. So, you know, if you're looking at your gear, it comes with the standard attributes, and some pieces are actually able to get a ton of attributes, and it's not even clear to me because legendaries in this game are so rare, we didn't get to see a ton of them, but there are just like more and more examples of like better things dropping. You're just like, whoa, I didn't even know you could drop that. For instance, this chest came with triple attributes: strength, willpower, and fortitude, for a total of almost 150 attributes. Previous ones I'd seen had been like 2 attributes, but in the 70s or so, you know, so like 71 and 72 fortitude and strength or something, which is still pretty high. It's 140, but now we have a triple, so we can like spread that out across these 3 different attributes. So you get that. Then you get the upgrade amounts. So every time you upgrade a slot, you get +8/+8 for specific things. In this case, it's willpower and fortitude on a chest. For a helm, it's strength and vitality. So because this is rank 16, if you take 16 times 8, that's going to be 128. So it's +8 for every rank up. So you're stacking, again, more attributes on top. And then every item also comes with a magic property. And these are very random. There's, I think in the blog post there, it mentions there's like 30 of them that they're trying to do for launch. And they run the gamut of all sorts of different things. Right now, one of the things I've noticed is the percents, again, do feel quite low. That's something that's been given as feedback, so they may make changes to it. But you can get some decent ones, like here, primary attack damage is increased by 6%. This is good for Demon Hunter in particular, because you do use your primary attack quite a bit. You sort of pepper it in amongst using your sort of main skills. So having a little more oomph to it is helpful. But this actually may not be the best, because there could be some other magic property that I haven't even seen yet that could be way better. So you kind of just take what you get when it comes to the legendaries. And then, like I mentioned, all the bonuses that you unlock. So for the rank 6, 11, and 16, those came in. We aligned them into the family. And then we got this extra bonus family attribute. And then the legendary property, for this one, it makes our multi-shot hit harder. Multi-shot is one of our strongest skills as we were building up this Demon Hunter. And I actually have 2 legendaries for it. I have this helm. And I also had this Flame Spite main hand, which made my multi-shot do burn damage over time. But the last part of a legendary is also that it does come with the legendary socket, and then you can socket in a legendary gem. And like I said, we'll cover legendary gems in a separate video. But that is like everything that goes into a legendary item. So you can see lots of stats on there, lots of stuff, a lot of it random, and a lot of it ranked up. So you really are going to keep looking over time, probably a long time, to try and get the best possible legendaries you can get. And legendaries, like we've mentioned, are quite rare. At least they were in the alpha. So this is something that's a long-term chase, which to me feels really good, actually, the way that they've done it. And then if we want to just look at a couple of rare items for the secondary armor slots, they are similar to the legendaries, and again, they can come with like triple attributes and stuff like that. You want to look for those. But the biggest thing to be aware of on them, and this is where we'll go back to the blog post, is sockets. So for rare items, you can get sockets for the common gems, as they call them. And here's what the maximum is for each. So for an amulet, you can get 3, rings 1, and your hands, your waist, and your feet 3 as well too. And this is actually pretty tough to come by to get both good stats on the rare pieces and also like max sockets. And sockets are actually quite good because you can socket in the common gems and get more stuff out of them, like armor penetration, offense rating, damage, and some defensive stuff as well too. They can also be colored. So there's a corresponding socket color that can determine which type of socket or which type of gem you put into them. So let me go back into the game to show you what I mean by that. So you can see here on this amulet, it got strength, willpower, fortitude. So it's a triple attribute, which is nice. That's super good. The magic power, so we upgraded it too. Again, these only go to rank 5 as the max upgrade, and every upgrade gives you +8 for 2 different things. In this case, it's strength and vitality, so it's maxed out at 40/40. Then the magic power, continual damage taken reduced 3%. So that's like if something's channeling damage on you, basically. Don't really feel like that's super good, so I would have preferred to see something else. But you want to use this because it's triple stats, triple attributes, and triple socket. And you can see here, I have a tourmaline, a citrine, and a sapphire in here. And the reason I'm using those is because it's actually dictated by the item. If we go back to the jeweler, you can see the interface for putting gems in. And as you can see here, if I remove these, it's a red socket slot, right? So only red gems are eligible to go in here. This one is only yellow. What's really cool, and I didn't even know this was in the game, it's not mentioned in that blog as far as I can tell, is you actually have rainbow sockets too. So you can see here, in, which item is this for me? I think that's my belt. If I remove this tourmaline, you can see more clearly that it's actually a rainbow socket. I can put red, yellow, or blue in here. Anything goes. And that's really cool because that's yet another like rarity thing to look for. So you can have a triple statted item plus 3 sockets, and then if you want the ultimate ability to really min-max, they also get rainbow sockets so you can put any sort of gem in there. And as you can see, these gems have, this is actually a perfect example to show you all the different kinds of normal gems, common gems, because you can put any in here. So like the tourmalines are all about damage. So there's 2 for each. There's an offense and a defensive for like red, yellow, and blue. So for the reds, it's tourmaline and ruby. Tourmaline is for damage, red is for, or ruby is for life. For yellow, it's offense and defense rating. So citrine is offense and topaz is defense. And then for blue, it's armor penetration and armor. For aquamarine, you get armor. And then for sapphire, you get the armor penetration. So those are just other ways to also give you more stats in your gear as you're trying to make your most powerful character.
Oh, I see.
So that's a lot of stuff. I know this video is quite long. I did want to show you just some of the details of what other stats you can get. So we went over, these are all your typical attributes. These numbers have changed because I removed some gems and things like that, but sort of my typical damage, typical life, my main attributes. And then if you go here for more, then you can see. And also another thing to be aware of in this game is that everything is sort of interactable with. So if I click on damage, it tells me exactly more about it. So it lets me know that it increases all my damage. This lets me know about my life. If you lose it, you die. This tells you just like other things about it, right? So this is how much it's increasing your offense defense rating. But you can see it's a 1-to-1. So every point of strength gives me 1 point of offense rating and defense rating. And that's the same for the other stats as well too. So that's why it's so important to stack those up to high numbers, because eventually you want to get this really nice offense and defense rating number that's going to help you fight against the enemy's offense and defense rating. And another hidden thing that we mentioned was armor penetration. It's really not shown anywhere that you can get more critical hit chance. So if you ever want to see what you're getting from your armor pen, then you want to come into here and click on that. We already explained like potency and resistance. And this will show you the durations, the percents of like how much you're reducing it by or taking it by, things like that, or increasing by. So that's important to know. Same for the offense rating and defense rating. So it'll show you the percents as well. And also you get some block chance with armor, things like that, defense rating. And then additional attributes, these are things that are also in the game. And some of them we don't really have control over right now. Like there haven't been affixes that I've seen to increase them, like accuracy rating and evasion rating. Haven't really seen anything for those just yet. Critical hit chance and critical hit damage, I have seen some affixes for those. Same for attack speed and cooldown. Movement speed, I think I've seen for boots. Armor piercing is something that you can get as well too as an affix. Same with block chance. Haven't seen life drain, which is sort of like a life steal. That's obviously going to be very powerful. I haven't seen any percents for that one yet, so that may not just be implemented. Same with critical resistance. I haven't seen anything like that, but that'll basically help you if you're going to go up against enemies that crit a lot or crit really hard. That can be helpful. Some other stats that are in the game too. Cheat death percent. It's a really weird thing to consider, but it's basically like your percent to cheat death rather than just like a guaranteed chance to do it. There is like a passive in the Paragon tree for Gladiator, where if you take that and you have that tree active, you do get a guaranteed cheat death against player attacks, so for PvP. But here, this is just like you would build up affixes to give you a better cheat death percent, and then sometimes you would escape death. It doesn't seem very good, but it's like an interesting concept. Life regen is very typical, and then Magic Find is one that I was surprised to see come back because it was something that was originally in Diablo 3, and then they got rid of it, and now it's back. And we haven't seen any affixes for it in the game yet either, but that's another thing that will directly affect the increase of like legendary drop rates and stuff, right? So it could actually help make the game feel not as rare when it comes to the top tier items if we get a lot of Magic Find percent and see what those values are going to be. And also if the game has like higher difficulties and stuff that increase the reward and things like that. So at least in alpha, it felt really good to scrounge around for these items. They were quite rare and very meaningful, very powerful. I kind of hope it stays that way. But this is basically your whole overview of gear and stats. I know it was a lot to take in. Hopefully it helped you out though in terms of just understanding how the game comes together. You get a lot of different ways to power up your character between the gear, between the stats, between your Paragon, and then your actual skills that you're using, plus charms as well. And common gems, legendary gems. There's a lot of systems to utilize here, so I think that's part of what makes the game so much fun, is that there's a lot of depth to it. And I hope that we just see more of that as the game evolves, and also as we get access to a wider array of items and a wider array of affixes and such. So thanks for watching this one. If you have any questions, definitely hop into the comments. We'll try to clear it up, make things easier to digest. Glad you watched this very long video. Hopefully it will help you become a better Diablo Immortal player in the future. And we'll see you in the next video. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future ones. Adios for now.